Well, welcome everyone. We're glad to have you all here. We've had a great year, and it's nice to have a chance to get everybody together before it concludes. We want to thank you for all that you've done to make it such a good year. We want to thank you for continuing to serve the students so well and helping them to achieve the success that is our mission. We're glad to have with us President Holland, who is going to lead us through the content of our gathering today, Hoagies with Holland, and we'd like to welcome him and invite him up. We'll turn the time over to him.
Thank you. Just fine. Well, good morning, everybody. I have an impossible task today. It has been another outstanding year. I was going to say exceptional year, right? But we keep saying exceptional, so how can it be exceptional? The things that you're doing on this campus are just remarkable. And what we have to report is truly a moment of transformation for this campus, given that in addition to our legislative funding for the year, we're reporting back on the lion's share of our equity funding from last year. And I think you will see the sweep and the impact this is having on this campus. It reminds me that it wasn't that long ago at State of the University, I think it was 3 years ago, that I announced that the wolverine was almost extinct. And this beautiful piece of news happened to be coming at the same time we were having budget cuts and the economy was in the tank, and yet we were still growing, and it didn't look like a great moment for the Wolverines. Well, what a difference a few years makes, and now there are Wolverine sightings everywhere. Let me share with you the most recent one that was covered on KUTV News. See if this works.
Marvin Lance Futch was excited when he first heard that President Obama was headed to Utah.
And there was a chance that he might catch a glimpse of the leader of the free world during his visit. Chris Jones on the story for us tonight. Chris, Futch did get an invitation to Hill Air Force Base, right?
Yeah, Hill is where the president was holding a roundtable with some political and business leaders, and he was also giving a speech. And Futch, who was invited, was hoping he might get a glance at the president as maybe he walked by. Turns out Futch got more than he bargained for.
This is just one of the solar panels we install.
Marvin Lance Futch works for Vivint Solar.
I lead a team of designers.
So he thought it was pretty cool that the president was coming to Utah, and he was going to talk about the solar industry.
The fact that this is important to him as well was really something special.
Commitment to renewable energy.
Then 2 days before the president's speech,
there was contact with the White House saying that they would like a representative from Vivint Solar to be present.
Futch is in the Air National Guard, so the company decided to send him.
A little bit of a rush.
Yeah, a rush. Maybe he'd be in the crowd when the president arrives, or maybe even get a picture.
It really sounded like at first that it was going to be just a press event, that they just wanted me there in the audience. I kept emailing going, hey, what do I wear about this? And they go, oh, it's business casual.
So Futch puts on a pair of khakis and a white polo and heads to the base.
I hope wherever they're sitting me, I'm close enough to the president.
Futch is then ushered into this conference room.
I was told eventually that I would be interviewing with a senior White House official.
And finds, he is interviewing with the most senior White House official of them all.
And the first thought was going through my head was, I should have worn my blues.
Futch spends 45 minutes talking to the president about solar energy.
It really was amazing because I was just 2 seats down from him.
Tonight, Futch is still in shock, but he says he's thankful for the visit and that the president didn't enforce a dress code.
And luckily, President Obama, he didn't mention anything about having a white polo on in front of him.
Okay, well, So, if you hadn't figured it out, Mr. Futch is one of our students here at UVU. And yes, that's right. So we've gone from being practically extinct to now meeting with the President of the United States in our white polo T-shirts. So that's how we do it. It's the UVU way. Some of you have seen me share this slide a couple of times this year. It's something, we came across in the files. It's been such a powerful reminder to me about where we've come from. That was our campus in 1981. That also happened to be the year that I moved to this valley and became part of this community, if you will. And here we are, not that many years later, with a campus absolutely transformed. And that obviously doesn't encapsulate all of the campus. Sorry, we can't get the lens big enough to get in the West Campus and the Education Building and Wasatch and everything else. But it gives you in a glimpse what we have become in a very short number of years. And that is continually the state of the UVU transformation that we are in. And so we've come a long ways, and even in just the last year, you think about the year that we've had, and the last 5 years that we had. I think some of you know I took this hike with a number of our students. Apparently I thought there was going to be skiing involved, so I brought my ski poles. I got the wrong memo on that. But this was such a rewarding moment. Those students so full of enthusiasm and eagerness and pride about being a UVU student and sitting up there on the top of that mountain, looking out over the valley and being able to see this campus and its very large footprint in the valley. And there was this moment of, we've arrived. We are Utah Valley University. We are an exceptional, bona fide, undergraduate-focused teaching institution with a wonderful dual mission of both community college access and university rigor, and we are doing it. And our students are loving it, and they're coming and they're staying, and they're not transferring. They're having fantastic experiences. And it was this moment of feeling of victory, and I've tried to help share that for all of us, that we all can join in that and feel in what we've accomplished over many decades, over the last few years, and then even in just the last year. So I hope you got a chance during, as lunch was being provided, to see some of the accomplishments. Usually I take this moment to talk in concrete terms and take you through slide after slide about the things we've accomplished. I just don't have time to do that today because there's so many things that we have done, and because the budget picture is so much larger in a positive sense that we need to talk through in some detail. But I hope you got the glimpse of it. It caps off this year with an official, a major party nominee for the presidency of the United States, who will be our graduation speaker, who was thrilled with this invitation, honored by it, accepted the moment it was offered. We're having a sort of an overfilled, overcapacity request for tickets, and so wherever you may be, wherever your politics may be, there's something significant in this, in the level of this kind of attention from a nationally recognized figure like this. And it started off, by the way, with filling the UCCU Center with our freshman convocation, where I joined Dan Fairbanks and our great friends and colleagues in student affairs, and especially in the area of student success and retention, where we had a wonderful session with over a couple of thousand new students and their parents that doubled or tripled the numbers there, almost filling the whole center, and talking about the great things that are UVU, the academic things that are UVU, and between Mitt Romney and that freshman convocation, just a whole series of things. And again, you saw the kind of the rolling slideshow, but the level of speakers that we've had for the presidential lecture series. Just this week, I got letters, or just this week, just in the last 24 hours, correspondence from Norm Wright talking about our own Hiram Smith, who's cited in U.S. News and World Report today. Lynn Bennett writing me about some of the most prestigious awards in history going to our faculty and fellowships at the John Carter Brown Library and the Newberry Library. I mean, these things are happening all over our campus, across all of our disciplines, in academic affairs, on the student affairs side. Employee contributions are just magnificent. And so I pay my tribute to all of you today, and this is a moment to celebrate that. Now, as we think about this transformation moment, just again, a couple of highlights. We built the classroom building this year. Very exciting endeavor, spectacular new facility with a tremendous, by the way, cascade effect. So as we move into the classroom building, it frees up space around campus that we've needed desperately for expansion in areas other than those departments that went into the classroom building. And so what we will be doing starting May 4th are 18 different major remodeling projects around this campus. So the move into the classroom building is more or less complete. We thank our faculty. We know it was a terribly difficult thing to do that during the middle of the semester. But by doing that, we're now freed up to go to these 18 projects all across campus, a number of which are very exciting, and I'll be announcing today that are major moves forward for us from a physical infrastructure point of view. The master plan process. We've been talking about this for a while. It's now moving in earnest. This is a picture of the plot map for the development out at Vineyard. You can see where the UVU property is, right there, right attached to the front runner operation. And it creates a whole new set of opportunities for us. Again, we don't have any, as of today, a concrete plan for that, but we're developing that. And we've met with 7 different groups around campus. We're meeting with a couple of more. We're creating as many points of input as possible. We want to hear everybody's voice on this. Soon you'll be getting probably a UVU Need to Know about a survey-based instrument where if you weren't able to go to some of these open sessions that we've had, you'll find another way to be able to give voice to what you think we ought to do. The major strategic decisions, major infrastructure decisions about what we build, where we put things, we've got to do it. The growth is coming. We've got the capacity to do it, and this will be a very important, again, transformative process that we're going through here in the next few days. This is a picture of the Vineyard property itself. Again, you see that spectacular piece of property, so large with multiple points of access to I-15. And that's not the only thing. In addition to the Vineyard property, we've got to think about our property at Thanksgiving Point, other potential spots in the North County, the Wasatch campus. We really ought, this is now the time to be picking up some land in the south part of the campus, south part of the county. All of that is underway for us moving forward. As we've been working with the architects on this master planning process, I was struck with one of the comments that was recently made. This is according to Jonathan Hickerson. One thing that came up in most of these meetings, again, these 7 open meetings that we've had, and we're having a few more, is that everyone could talk in a cohesive way about the UVU mission, about our focus on student success achieved through that combination of being serious, engaged, and inclusive. He said, having gone to another school, I couldn't tell you what the mission of that school was. There really is a unity here. That reminded me of an assessment made by our accrediting institution earlier in the year as we kicked things off, as they came through and did an exhaustive review of the institution and the progress we're making. As they said in one of our open meetings, with response to our mission, people knowing the mission, being able to talk about it, having it drive the decisions that we make. I've never seen anything quite as well done in higher education, said one of the accreditation team members. So thank you to you. Thank you for embracing this mission, for all of us working together to help move that forward. Now, one of the key ways that we do this is through the PBA process. And so just as a reminder, this is a process that brings us together in a collaborative fashion, a transparent fashion, to be able to make decisions that achieve our priorities according to our core themes and administrative imperatives, and as guided by other legislative instruction that we may have. As I go through now the meat of the presentation here, I'll warn you, it's detailed, it's significant, but these are the decisions that we've been able to make as a result of the substantial move forward that we've had with securing resources for this institution. As we do so, I hope you will remember the context of what we are facing here. Here are just a few little factoids about what the rest of the nation is facing as we move forward. 37 states have had to cut their funding, per student funding, by over 20%. Okay? So 9 states have cut it by more than 1/3. Our annual published tuition at four-year institutions significantly on the climb, as upwards of 28–30%. Arizona, our next door neighbor, four-year tuition rates have skyrocketed more than 80%. Just a few other things here. This is from the Center of Budget and Policy, the Budget and Policy Center. They did a major report on the state of higher education detailing the significant amount of cuts around public universities and colleges around the nation, cutting back on faculty, cutting back on programs, cutting back on labs and resources. Look at just since 2008, University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, it's an institution I'm familiar with, eliminated 493 positions, cut 1,600 course seats for students, decreasing class size, reducing services. That's the environment that we live in. And you need to appreciate that, to appreciate what I'm about to show with you, which is the progress we are making in the face of all of this, substantial moves forward in a very positive and dynamic way. So, again, that's the purposes of PBA: bring together our values, our aspirations, our key inputs, our key resources, talk about it openly all through the process from the beginning request to this final reporting meeting. We keep track on this calendar that kind of starts with some summer planning, moves through our fall conversations. Those are ongoing. We insert the legislative process, make decisions, and now we're reporting back, which is what we have today. So, in terms of the legislative process, a solid year. Obviously not anything like we had last year. We weren't expecting that, given the major victories we had last year. There was $60 million allocated to USHE for compensation. I think I told you that was our top priority. That was my top priority going into the legislative session. That leaves a $2 million allocation for compensation. Again, the state controls the compensation dollars quite carefully. I need to stress that to you, because when you see the other monies, we're not just free to take those other monies and put it into compensation. We have the designated funding from the legislature for compensation, but we were grateful to get the $2 million that we did, and we pushed hard for that. We got authority to use donated funds for our arts building to start the planning and design. This is not approval for the building, but it's approval to get started on doing the design and use a lot of that money that we've raised on our own to go to work on that. So that project is underway. I think that puts us in a very strong position next legislative session. If we've got everything planned and designed, we've got a lot of money in the bank account, I think it'll be very hard not to give this approval next year. We can't bank on it just yet, but it puts us in a much stronger position. One of the great benefits of this wasn't originally something we thought was possible, but we got an extra $1.5 million to remodel the activity center. Many of you know that that center is used for a lot of functions, including convocation. It's getting too small. There are very few things we can do in it. Many times we'll want to do something in the UCCU Center. We don't need it for 8,000 seats, but it's an event that's too big for this room or for the new auditorium. So this will create a really spectacular new 3,000 to 4,000 seat hosting area, arena area that I'm sure will get used a lot on this campus. And then there are a series of things, kind of performance-based funding, an engineering initiative, a math competency initiative. These things are tied to money, but they actually haven't been allocated yet. So even when we're done with the presentation I have today, there will still be some more money coming out of these funding streams, if you will, for UVU. The legislature is working this out with the regents and the commissioner's office over the next couple of weeks. So there will be more to report on that probably in the next PBA cycle. So our next, as we move beyond the legislative report there, we have to appreciate that we're going back now to report on the spending of last year's acute equity win. So the graph before you shows that last year after the legislative session, out of that $21 million for the acute equity, we immediately spent about $6 million. These were things that are absolutely pressing, sort of crisis-level issues that we had to invest in. We did those. That's now off the table. But there's this remaining $14 million that we then put in with the legislative monies that we've gotten and the tuition monies. But before we go into then the comprehensive spend, let me just help you see what this has meant in a kind of a snapshot way for the institution. The legislature gave us priorities, 4 designated areas of spending for that acute equity money. Again, it wasn't like we were just given $21 million and free to go do whatever we wanted with it. Those are the 4 areas. That shows you what we've spent to date. It shows you a little bit of the remaining balance. So actually, even after all this, there's still going to be almost $1 million left in the acute equity fund that will funnel into the PBA process for next year. But one of the most significant things that comes out of this is that as a result of that acute equity money spent last spring and this year, we will add 70 new faculty and 70 new staff to this campus. Now, just to put that in context, look at the following graph. What this shows you is, if you go back to kind of the 2007, 2008 timeframe, that first peak, that was our target for a percentage of salaried faculty giving our academic instruction. That was our goal for university status. We actually never quite achieve it. We were on our way, and as a result, the legislature was willing to kind of take a chance on us and say, okay, it looks like you've almost achieved that. We're going to make you a university. And then the bottom fell out of things. The enrollment growth hit, the economy tanked, and you can see the precipitous fall that we were in on that decline. So a big part of the equity funding was to turn that around. And not only have we turned it around, but we've turned it around, and now, as projected based on the decisions we've made, we will exceed our target for university status come fall of 2015 in terms of the numbers of faculty that we will have on this campus to deliver instruction to our students, and they will be more adequately supported and supplemented by the terrific work of our staff who are hired to fill some very needed holes on this campus. And again, we'll talk about some of the specifics of that moving forward. But this, I think, is such a significant thing in terms of finally achieving a goal that was set for us years and years ago about what it truly meant to be a university. And I think you've heard me say that before. This was one of the arguments to the legislature, which is if you want us to be a university, you've got to fund us like a university. And that was the power of the Acute Equity Initiative last year that has allowed us to do this and even exceed the expectations, I think, that people had for us moving forward. So with that, those, again, are some of the key elements of the Acute Equity Initiative. So when we take the acute equity money, we combined it with a tuition from enrollment. We did have a modest tuition increase. I'll say more about that. It was a very modest increase, basically to match what we needed to do on the compensation front. And then some of these new tax funds that we come in. It meant a working operating budget of new monies, base monies, of just over $25 million. Now, even beyond that, it added a significant amount of one-time funding. So when you think of, you take the base monies of $25 million, add that to what turned out to be $17 million worth of one-time money, it's a total of over $40 million that we had to spend this year in this budget. Again, that's created a terrific set of opportunities. I have to really thank Linda Macon and her staff, all of the executives and staff on this campus who've worked closely with departments and various areas of the campus to identify what are our key priorities here and how do they blend into our strategic aims and objectives. This has been an inordinate amount of work this year. Work we were glad to do, work we've asked for, but I do think we need to pay appropriate thanks to those that have helped make this a reality for us. So, first and foremost, compensation. Said that was our highest priority moving forward. Again, we had to work within the parameters of what the state has set for us. So, what we're announcing here today is that all salaried employees will receive a 2% base salary adjustment. With that, some employees will receive merit and equity adjustments on top of that. So on the faculty side, again, we're continuing our equity moves on both the faculty and staff side. So terminally qualified faculty will try to get to a floor of 92% of the market median. Non-terminally qualified will be at 82%. We will do some merit pay on the faculty side. That's been a big discussion on the faculty side. We haven't figured that out yet. The one thing I think we're all agreed on is that we have to pay for rank and tenure promotion, and so that will, those merit monies will be dedicated solely to that. The total of that is effectively another 1% for a total of 3% adjustment on the faculty side. On the employee staff side, we'll see that employees with at least 2 years in their position will be moved to a floor of 90% of their market median. By the way, on both the faculty and the staff side, a kind of a minimum of at least a $250 adjustment and a maximum of $4,000. On the merit side, we're a little more advanced. So we're a little more advanced on the equity side for faculty, a little more advanced on the merit side for employees and staff. So there will be some merit adjustments as determined by the vice president in the divisions and for the executives by me. That again will total, those equity merit adjustments will total 1% total. Some, I think, hopeful good news to report about our benefits. I know this is an ongoing concern. In the past, we've had a couple of hard years in dealing with the benefit situation, and that's required a lot of input and dialogue on behalf of the campus. We've continued to do that. Our benefits committee has been working in earnest with our consultants and with different constituency groups and open input meetings on campus. And what we are doing in response to those input and advice is combining the white and the green plan into what we're calling now our traditional plan. By virtue of doing that, you can see that we'll have lower office co-pays that are reduced to $30, and everything gets the kind of key dimensions get lower on medical deductibles, out-of-pocket medical, and prescription medications. 100% coverage on the therapy RX side, the prescription side. Will continue to, and a premium rate, there is a modest premium rate of 4.09%. On the family or traditional plan, that translates into about $6 a month. But again, I think you'll see the services made up for that and significant cost savings in some of these other benefits that come with the plan. Just a reminder, open enrollment it's already started and it will continue through May 8th, so please pay attention to that and engage as you need to. On the hourly side, all hourly staff will receive a 2% adjustment, and hourly budgets in general will be increased 3% to allow for some targeted market equity and retention. And adjunct faculty will receive $100 per 3-credit course. That's an increase, and that translates into a 3.8 increase adjustment. That's part of what's been this multi-year effort to move adjunct pay faster and farther than any other category, given how low they've been historically. And now we really are becoming quite competitive, if not moving beyond some of our competitors with our pay in that area. Okay. With compensation established, want to now talk through where we are in terms of the various areas of focus on our campus. And it's basically our core themes and our administrative imperatives combined with those parameters of the acute equity instructions that we had from the legislature. So, starting with the heart of our mission, student success and how we support them. You can see each of these areas. I'll give you a review about what we're trying to do in each of these areas, what we mean by student success, how we're trying to promote it. In this case, improving upper division and critical path development through the increase of percentage of instruction offered by salaried faculty. We've talked through that a little bit. I'll give you some of the details about where those positions are going. So, 25 faculty, this isn't all the faculty, but 25 new faculty in various areas. Again, I don't want to I'll leave these up for a little second, let you read through them to kind of get the glimpse of where we are putting these positions, highly prioritized by input from the departments, the deans, academic affairs, starting off with a position in American Indian Services, all the way through to theater. But these are coming in key areas that will significantly reduce student ratios, deal with bottleneck issues, and really relieve some pressure where we felt them most particularly. In addition to the full tenure track position, a dozen lecturer faculty, and then a couple of faculty in history and integrated studies that have been converted from lecturer to full-time faculty positions. In addition to those faculty positions, we want to deal with student advisor ratios, expand student retention, and provide the well-rounded university experience. These are all kind of stated aims of our core themes and objectives. So here we've got new advisors that are coming in several different areas, match for accelerating our academic progress for the NCAA, new ongoing support for our major outreach to our K through 16 Alliance and Counselors Conference, expansion of the Writing and Tutoring Center, faculty director for a financial student success program, playing off the great success of our personal financial planning program. We're making such great progress with student success and retention, but they need some help, some programming, communication, and data support. A couple of key UVU SA initiatives that we're able to give support to, and everyone's favorite topic, the expansion of Scoops, maybe the big victory of the year. Yes, of course. We don't need faculty, but we got to have ice cream. I know how it works around here, so. As we continue with engaged learning, engagement, one of our core key themes, capacity for internships, undergraduate research, foster partnerships. So you can see where we've put new internship coordinators in several of our colleges, more support for MBA career and placement, a central internship coordinator that will really help bring together these efforts, alleviating some of the demands on our faculty so that they can focus on other elements of the internship program that are more key for them. Remodeled space for criminal justice and strengthening families. I think the idea here is if you do the latter, there might be less of the former. We're just speculating about that. Earmarking some monies for some dynamic things that we're doing to put our Academy for Creativity, Technology, and Economic Development on a more stable footing. So under inclusive, again here, the way we think about this from a budgetary perspective includes the traditional things you think about being inclusive, fulfilling our community college access mission, improving our multicultural, intercultural activities, but also making sure that we stay broad in our sweep from community college to advanced graduate education, and make sure that we have the needed programs that everybody in our community is asking for. So on that front, major steps forward in terms of reducing fees for our students. So the reduction of the $52 distance education fee and off-campus fees. Reduction of any fee less than $10. We found that we were kind of nickeling and diming our students did I say something wrong? Yes. Well, that's going to happen too. And I'll be having a separate session on that by private admission. Thanks for the extensive whispering throughout the audience that clued me in on that. All right, wonderful. I'm glad that's been the only one so far. There's a lot of words up here today, so I could keep going, but I think I'll move along. So anyway, it's good for our students. They're not paying as much, and they're not cursed as much. And in addition to that, we're going to try to give students more money. So we're implementing a need-based scholarship. We're going to have a little more fanfare about this later on. We need to name it, but it's basically going to help students that have that gap between what their Pell Grant can do for them and what they need to do to finish programs. Again, there's some parameters around that. We need to be very clear about it. But for some of our neediest students, this will be a substantial help to them to eliminate a stumbling block to their student success and to being part of higher education. We're also working on an analogous project for Wasatch. The Wasatch campus. We believe that if we can make that more accessible, that will help stimulate demand up there. So we're looking forward to that. In addition to that, other things that reach out and give support to some of our underserved or underrepresented populations. Major step forward for a Veterans Center, only campus in the state that hasn't had one. We appreciate the great folks who defended this country and making our freedoms possible. We want to make sure that we're taking care of them. And then just some basic full-time positions in areas where we've needed them desperately for an ombuds, mental health, and accessibility services. Let me just, again, try to contextualize this or quantify it in terms of what this has enabled us to do for our students. By virtue of the monies that we've been able to spend, I shouldn't say it's an unintended consequence, but it wasn't actually something that we were able to control completely, because we're part of a system that sets a Tier 1 tuition, if you will. But what we have lobbied for very hard this year is to say, look, because of the support we got from the legislature, we don't feel the pressure to raise tuition like we did in earlier years. That's what was happening earlier when we didn't get the support from the legislature, when our percentage of funding went down. We had no other choice but to kind of raise tuition and to be party to that. Now we've been in the vanguard of saying we want to raise tuition as low as possible. So we argued for as low a Tier 1 tuition as possible, and we didn't put in a second-tier tuition. Again, making that more, putting education more within the reach of our students. So this is a historic low in terms of our tuition. But there's something even more significant about that. When you look at tuition and fees, this is a first in our institutional history that we've had a reduction in fees. So our tuition did go up, but the fees that come on top of the tuition, we've actually taken down this year by a little over $10. Thank you. Absolutely. Again, I want to thank our budget office for great work on that, but also our great UVU SA leaders. They helped champion this. We were able to do this, by the way, and still add a couple of UVU SA new things and programs and still reduce the overall fee. And I think overall that's a very strong message given the times that we live in. So just wanted to note that. Okay. In addition to those issues, expand the capacity of STEM programs. Again, this is that part of inclusiveness about making sure we reach out to all the elements of our region and making sure that we're providing the programs that they need. We're hearing over and over again that we need more capacity in STEM. We've made major investments in that with a number of faculty positions and support positions to make those more accessible to our students, easier to pursue, et cetera. Implementing new academic programs. We're to that point now where we're ready to think about additional graduate studies programs, but to do that we need a graduate studies office. We haven't had anything like that. We've paid a little bit of price at the Regent and Commissioner office level. We think this will really help us move forward, and I think in the next little while you'll see some exciting announcements about the next phase of our graduate education build-out. As we've talked about, extending our reach for distance education, that becomes a real tool of flexibility for many of our students who have a hard time accessing this campus various times of the day. Also enabling us to get more efficiencies out of that. We've combined that with some large section course development, so a few key developments there. History and Political Science came forward with an interesting proposal about using some of their part-time and adjunct monies to turn that into some lecture positions that were specifically dedicated towards reaching large group capacity. And you can see also other online-focused requests there for ethics and values and biology. So as we move into the serious phase here, this is again, we've got so many of these faculty. How do we build on that? How do we foster this environment? How do we create the right setting for these things, both academically and professionally, so that we're doing our very best on every dimension, championing learning in a rigorous environment, supporting a culture of scholarship and creative work. Anyway, those are some of the key areas of focus there, and what we see right off the bat is support for some academic programming, lab support, increase in academic departmental funds, and equipment replacement and repair for a number of our colleges where that has been an ongoing battle. They've been trying to put it together with one-time funds year after year. We now put this on a solid footing of some base funding. Then major academic facilities enhancements, a major revision of the Pope Science Building. This will allow it to move forward into the current age in which we live. It's a very old building. It'll be such a powerful complement to the new Science Building. We'll be changing the racquetball courts into dance facilities. The power of doing this is that it allows us to truly house the School of the Arts in the new building that we're going to build. As it stood, we were not going to be able to do that. We're going to build this great new building, and we still wouldn't be finished. We'd have to look for another building, but by moving dance out, we reach far more of our students and enable us to have a more complete School of the Arts building once it's built. Major remodel of 145 in the Woodbury School of Business. The library, 5th floor, being remodeled. A major classroom remodel in the McKay building, and lab space enhancements in Sparks and art and visual communications. These, by the way, are some of those 18 projects that I talked about at the beginning of the hour here that will start on May 4th. So again, ready yourself. There's going to be dust and adjustment, and we ask for your patience in this, but once we're done, it will leave, I think, almost every inch of campus feeling refurbished in some major significant way. And then just some key programmatic upgrades across campus. Everything from our freshman reading program, which is again kind of been, a lot of these things have been cobbled together with one-time monies. We can now put them on the stable footing of ongoing base support. Employee development and compliance training, all sorts of things we ask you folks to do, need you folks to do, but we haven't been able to give you the support to do it. And getting ready for our big 75th anniversary, there's some things we want to be able to do to make the world stand up and take note of what this institution is as it approaches its 75th birthday. As we grow larger, we've had to add additional sections in the various schools and in distance education, so you can see there's a significant amount of money put into that resource. And then on securing resources, again, some may seem counterintuitive to some of you, but to make $1, sometimes you have to spend $1, or more aptly put, to make $2, you have to spend $1. All of these assets are guaranteed to give us a greater return on investment, will make up the money spent, and bring more into the coffers to support the institution. Our fundraising, I think, as you know, is really taking off on this campus, allowing us to do a lot of the things that we're talking about today, because we have not only state support, but we have private support for a number of these projects. One example is the matching funds that we've got for an arts building and for an athletic practice facility that we've set aside some money for, that will allow us to go out to the community to say, we've got a little bit of money, but we can't finish it without your help. Becomes a very motivating way to secure those private resources and saves us millions and millions of dollars moving forward. Operate effectively as we kind of wrap up on this administrative imperative, if you will. We've got to improve our capacity to operate as we've grown in size and complexity. All sorts of increasing challenges and requirements at the federal, state, and local level. We've had some major things to do on technology to support that. That's become fundamental to every aspect of campus. We've had some budget stabilization things we've needed to do in a couple of key areas that had gotten out of whack. And and we've already talked a little bit about developing facilities and infrastructure. I have more to say about that here. So. We've just hired our new general counsel. I just came from a major national meeting where the level of compliance that's required and exposure for a university is at an all-time high. The level of nervousness about this across the nation is palpable, and we needed that more full-time dedicated resource to make sure that we're staying on top of things and not letting moderate problems become crisis because we didn't have the adequate internal support to take care of it. Along with that, in that very same vein, more support for internal audit and staff, support for AAEO Title IX efforts that we've put forward on this campus, PCI compliance, we've made some investments there, and a policy coordinator for academic affairs. Again, have to make major investments in technology to keep our data secure. We're actually one of the leaders in that, but we're relentlessly hit every day with people trying to access that data. We've got major decisions that we have to make. We need the data to do that, so having a director and some area support for business intelligence will help us move forward. And then major investments in IT support and staffing. I think all of you feel that regularly, that you have projects you need to get done. We just haven't had the manpower in IT to help get them done. That will give us substantial strength in that area to move forward. Beyond those areas, staffing support in other areas in terms of accounting, academics needs the help, student services, hourly staff. We've put resources in each of those areas, again, so that some of the heavy burdens that you've all been carrying, many of you wearing 2 or 3 hats at a time, this is the initiative to help you take off a few of your hats, and that you'll have the support that you need on that. So, with that, I have one more item to share with you as we wrap up. As you know, a number of years ago, we made the decision to become self-funded with our insurance, and this has pluses, it has minuses. I think net-net, we've seen it as a very good thing to do. And this year in particular, I think we're seeing some of the fruits of that decision. So as being self-funded, we need to keep a certain level of reserves in our coffers, if you will, against claims and other issues that may come forward as we kind of pool our resources together to self-insure ourselves. You can see the bar there gives us the recommended level of reserves that we have. So this is what you see now is that we've now exceeded those reserve levels. Now, why has this happened? Well, it's probably a more complicated picture than I'm going to be able to share with you today, but at a minimum, what it means is we're being healthier, I think. We're taking care of ourselves. We're responding to the efforts of leadership in HR and elsewhere to make sure that we're taking full advantage of the resources that we have, being careful and judicious in the use of our insurance. All those things make a difference, and when we do that collectively, it can have a real payoff. So we currently do have a reserve in the system with our premiums paid exceeding our claims. And so just as in difficult years, we've had to take some hits and some payments and adjust the plan to make things fit. We now have a good year where it can come back to us. So as a result of your healthier living and our collective efforts to be careful and judicious in our program development, what I can announce is that we are going to have a premium holiday. So starting in the next round of paychecks, May 1st through June 16th, you'll effectively be getting a premium holiday equivalent to not paying from April 1 to May 31st. So thank you. Thank you. I'm sure that will come as a needed help to many of you. And again, the little lag time is how the payment works relative to the premium paid. So your premiums, you weren't paying from April 1 through May 31st, but you'll see that reflected in your paycheck on the May 1st through June 16th paychecks. But I'm not finished. In addition to the premium holiday, you're going to get a medical premium rebate. So for all salaried benefits eligible employees, as of March 1st, you'll get a $1,450 premium rebate. It'll be put in your paycheck on May 16th. Is there a curse up there again, or you're all talking again out there? You heard the rest of the presentation, didn't you? Okay, all right. It's a great delight for me to be able to announce that to you. And again, it's payback to you. Let that be a learning lesson for us, that the more we individually can be healthy, can take care of ourselves, the better off we will be collectively and individually. So, and it's also a treat for me to do that because of who you are and what you're accomplishing. Let me take you back. This is where we were a few years ago, and this is where we are today. Now think about what I said earlier. Think about what's happening in the rest of this country to higher education. It's really I think it's not an extravagant statement to say that it's in a state of crisis. Positions are being cut. In some states, tenure is being cut. Staff positions are being cut. Benefits are being cut. And in the midst of all of this, UVU is emerging today in the strongest position it has ever been in the history of the institution. We're better funded per student. Again, the rest of the country, 20, 30% decrease per student on average. We're now higher than we were before the recession. I defy you to find another school in this nation, if you can tell me about it, because I haven't found it, that would be making announcements like this. 70 new faculty, 70 new staff in the midst of the larger macro environment that we're having, plugging holes that we've had here for decades and decades, putting pressure on each of you day by day to do more than you really should be doing. But now there will be relief for that as we have the support for people to do the jobs we ask them to do. It's a magnificent thing. And why has it happened? Well, it's happened because of two things. It's happened because the community believes in you. The community has stepped forward and said, UVU needs those tax funds. UVU needs those private donations. We see what's happening on that campus day in and out by faculty, by staff, and they want to invest in you. And they have invested in you in a major way. This doesn't solve all of our problems. I don't mean to make it sound like everything that we struggle with is going to go away, but a lot of stuff that we've wrestled with, that we've been anxious about for years, is now going to be fixed. Remember when I talked about that moment, we talked about the extinct wolverine? That was the year we were kind of laying out, if we were to continue to grow, what we would need for student support, what we would need for faculty. I laid out some numbers, and people sort of laughed or were almost even angry to say there's no way that we can do that. We've now exceeded many of those numbers in terms of our percentage of funding per student. And we're well on our way to exceeding those numbers in terms of the faculty and staff support that we would need by 2020, and it's 2015. It's a monumental investment of this community because they see what you are doing, and they love it, and they appreciate it. And why do they love it and appreciate it? Not just because of the job you're doing, but because of what it's about. That's the other thing that is most powerful to me in all of this, is what you're doing day in and day out to transform student lives. I mean, this would be exciting news if we were in one of these great entrepreneurial growth companies that dot this valley. But I'm here to tell you what we're doing is far more important than that, far more lasting than that. I was just at a conference and talking with a colleague of mine, and she is the president of an institution whose profile looks a lot like UVU's. And she told me a story. I'm going to share it here. It could easily have happened on this campus, but she just reported, and it's fresh, and it's on my mind, and it reminds me of sort of what it is we do here. They had a fundraising campaign for a key initiative to move the institution forward. And this president had reached out to all aspects of the community to say, please give us your support. A woman who lived 11 blocks away from the campus, didn't have a car, not access to public transportation, walks 11 blocks to come up to the president's office to take a $5 bill that she had earned in her day laborer job. It was so crinkled and crumpled that she took an iron to flatten it out, to make it smooth and nice, to hand to the university president. And the university president, she'd been kind of tipped off about this and was just agonized and like, I can't take this woman's money. I mean, we'll survive. The fund will go forward. That $5 isn't going to make or break our efforts. So she'd made it up in her mind that she wasn't going to accept the gift. But when she came in and she saw that woman and she handed her that freshly ironed $5 bill, the president went into her statement to say, I'm sorry, I can't accept that. You use that to take care of your family, take care of your needs, do what you need to do. And the woman looked back at her with big tears in her eyes, and she says, I need to give this to you because this institution is the only hope for my babies. That's what you're doing here. You're giving hope and a way out and a way up for 30,000 babies in this valley and in this state. And behind those babies, there are grateful parents and friends and spouses and partners who are cheering them on and cheering you on for the work that you do. Let me take this dramatic moment of institutional transformation to celebrate you and honor you for what you do and what you've made this institution to become today, the indispensable institution, I believe, of higher education in this state and certainly in this valley. It's a magnificent accomplishment, and you've made it happen. Thank you very, very much.